as soon as I put a drink into my body, it releases this overwhelming craving for more, coming to from a session and actually locked in a psychiatric hospital off the back of I'll just have a glass of wine on a Friday. As a mother in addiction, horrific. The way society looks at mothers in addiction and the way that I felt about myself, ferocious. Every single celebration involves alcohol. And then for me, anyway, if anything went wrong, I'd want to drink. Day of the week, Fridays and Saturdays, obviously. Start on a Thursday. Then if someone asked you on a Tuesday, there's a reason every 30 seconds to pick up a drink. You've got as much chance of having your legs amputated and them growing back to you being able to drink normally.
Absolutely.
Once you've been an alcoholic. And I accept that after a few tries. I really love myself.
Love that.
Yeah, I've got really great empathy for myself. I think stopping drinking is one of the hardest things in the whole wide world to do. For me, the hardest thing to do was that. And I did that. So I think I can probably do anything at all.
Welcome to School of Rock Bottom with Oliver Mason. I'm an actor, a voiceover artist and a recovery coach who's been sober 9 years. And I know firsthand that rock bottom can be the greatest teacher and the springboard for a beautiful life. And as you know, I interview fellow creatives and all inspiring people that have hit rock bottom, survived and thrived. This is a podcast of hope and how to get out of the darkness into the light. And that's why I'm so excited today, because I've got the magical Molly McBride in the studio.
Wow, Oliver, you're very good at that. I'm so impressed.
I've practiced it a lot.
Your spiel is incredible.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I can see how you're a drama school teacher with that level of showbiz.
There you go. It's a bit showbiz.
Amazing.
Now, if you don't recognise Molly McBride, shame on you, you will do now. She's a 3 times Best Stand-Up Comedy Newcomer Award winner, which is absolutely incredible. We're going to be getting into all of that in a bit. Before we get into our first question, though, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor of this episode, which is Gavin Sisters. Head to the show notes now for 10% off. More about them later on. Molly, thank you so much for coming to meet me today. I think you know how I'm going to start this podcast. We're not quite sure where it's going to end up, but I always start with the first question, always the same. And that is to start with your rock bottom moment, or one of them. And from there, we'll get into the joy, the hope, the light, and the recovery.
Oh, I think my rock bottom would have to be realising that I was locked in a psychiatric hospital with no shoes.
Wow.
And to do a detox and forced to do it. So sort of coming to from a session and actually locked in a psychiatric hospital.
Wow.
I could remember as well, my toenail had come off and I had no shoes and socks and I was embarrassed about it. It's just when I think of it, I always think I had a really manky toenail. It's like overwhelming, terrifying, crazy, not even a proper idea of how I got there.
Right.
And that's sobering up, realising that I was in this, literally a lunatic asylum.
Wow.
Off the back of I'll just have a glass of wine on a Friday.
Wow, that's really interesting, because at the end of that sentence, I thought you were going to say maybe a different type of drug, but you said alcohol.
Yeah.
I think some people listening to this podcast that maybe don't really understand how dangerous alcohol can be, wouldn't think that that was possible, that actually alcohol wouldn't send someone to a psychiatric unit.
Yeah.
I mean, you describe it quite flippantly, like you had a glass of wine, then you ended up there. Was that literally how it played out, or had that bender lasted a long period of time?
Well, that's where they all start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah.
And then I can't just have one. One is too many and 1,000 is never enough. So for me personally, as soon as I put a drink into my body, it releases this overwhelming craving for more.
Yeah.
And that's actually how I stay stopped, because however much I think I'd fancy a drink, all it does is make me desperately want more alcohol.
Yeah.
And there's no stopping then until I'm passed out or something's happened. And I sort of went along like that for years and years, never remembering the end of nights out, stuff like that. It was terrifying, really.
Yeah.
And injuries, absolute madness. And then I bet for you as well, it's behaving out of character. It's awful.
100%.
Not remembering stuff. Yeah. Horrific. They have, there's loads of horror movies where people wake up and they don't remember how they got there. I mean, that would happen to me once a week.
So true.
Hell.
Yeah. So true.
Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting with blackouts, isn't it? Because I had loads of blackouts as well. That I remember there was a period of time that they were quite fun. It didn't last long, but, do you remember last night? No, I don't remember last night. It must have been a brilliant night.
I think that as well, yeah. So sort of early days, kind of thinking I must have had loads of fun, and then
it became terrifying.
Utterly terrifying.
I think Robin Williams called it your soul going into a witness protection program, which I really love.
Yeah, because it is interesting, isn't it? Because you can't remember anything, but it's like at the time. It's why people repeat themselves.
Yeah.
Because they've stopped making memories.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when your blood alcohol goes to a certain point, the part of the brain that makes memories just shuts down.
Yeah.
And you can't make any new memories.
Yeah.
And of course, it leaves people very vulnerable to assault, rape, theft, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I think as a young woman, it's just horrific.
And if it was any other drug, we'd all be there demonizing that thing.
Yeah.
And saying this thing has to be banned. But because alcohol is so entrenched in our culture, it's sort of almost sort of blamed on the person for drinking.
Well, I came up with such a brilliant solution to that problem.
Oh, go on.
Well, I just got addicted to cocaine as well.
Okay.
So it's actually a genius.
So then you don't black out?
No, you don't.
Yeah. There you go.
That problem solved.
Problem solved.
And then that obviously, it did solve that problem. It didn't solve many other problems, weirdly.
Yeah, but then that can cause the problem that you can't sleep. So a lot of people get addicted to sleeping tablets and weed and then have the need then to come down.
Yeah.
I'm just interested, going back to your rock bottom a second in the psychiatric unit. Do you remember how long that bender was? I'm just wondering how long it took you to go from just picking up one to literally...
I think probably 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for you, it grabs you fast and puts you literally in a psychiatric unit within 4 or 5 days.
Well, yeah. That time. You never know where it's going to go.
No, you don't.
At all.
I think some people, maybe who don't understand addiction, would assume that that's maybe a year of drinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you're in the merry-go-round of recovery and you pick up again, it can be 5 days and you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been my experience when I did relapse. It was straight back to square one. Not quite in a psychiatric unit, but not brilliant either. There's no... It's waiting for you. I think that once you are an addict, someone explained to me that you've got as much chance of having your legs amputated and them growing back to you being able to drink normally.
Absolutely.
Once you've been an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And I accept that after a few tries. It's true.
Do you think that's why you kept going back to it before? You were trying to prove that you weren't?
I just desperately wanted to be able to have an escape from my own brain.
Yeah.
And to relax and also to be part of everyone's... It's so normal as well. I mean, I'm from an Irish family. It's completely entrenched in everything.
Yeah.
In society, in London, it's everywhere. Everywhere. Every single celebration involves alcohol. And then for me, anyway, if anything went wrong, I'd want to drink. Is either end of the emotional spectrum.
Yeah.
Or also day of the week, Fridays and Saturdays, obviously. Start on a Thursday. Then if someone asked you on a Tuesday, there's a reason every 30 seconds to pick up a drink.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was... I was in. You know, it doesn't matter what time or day of the week. Someone said to me back in the day, do you want a drink? I'm like, hell yeah.
I do. I mean, I do sort of wonder as well, because the thing is, me drinking, I am euphoric immediately.
Yeah.
So I actually would have loads and loads of fun until I was just basically so sloppy. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But it starts with me hugely enjoying it. Love it.
Right. This probably ties in nicely to what I was going to ask you next. I was quite interested in sort of how your relationship to alcohol changed. You sort of mentioned early on that it was quite normalized in your family.
Yeah.
Just sort of quickly kind of explain maybe how your relationship to alcohol changed, maybe from when you first started drinking to, say, the rock bottom. Big question, I know.
I was never good. I had... when I was a young teenager, I started using substances very, very young, like 12, 13. Okay. And then particularly weed, I remember having my first joint and being like, well, I do this every day now.
Yeah. Right, sure.
And other drugs like ecstasy. I went really, really young. I would go raving, which was amazing to be like, I was at the sort of end of the really good 90s raves, but I was in there like 14. Do you know what I mean? It was, to be honest, it was awesome.
They were the best raves.
Yeah. But
no one was there with a phone filming it.
Oh, God, no. Just sort of the more disgusting of a venue, the better. You'd go and not see daylight until the next morning. And it was like, it was amazing. Yeah. It was absolutely amazing. Then I go back to school on a Monday. But so I was doing tons of pills and stuff like that. And all of that, actually, I think I really enjoyed it. Apart from the fact I was like an actual child.
Yeah.
It didn't have that element to it. And then I think alcohol, it would always sort of go too far for me. And then there's periods of time when it got bad, it got less bad, it got bad, it got less bad.
Yeah.
But for me, I had children really young, and then because I was exposed to similar in my own childhood, I couldn't bear it. I had so much shame, painful, horrific level of shame around basically putting my children through the same as what I'd been through. I couldn't do it. Right. And then in the end, I did that detox, stayed sober for a while, crept back in again. I used to be able to do like, just have like 2 drinks, but I used to have to concentrate for the whole, like it wasn't fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd even go to bed and have to full concentrate on not getting out of bed to go to the shop to get more.
Yeah.
And then I'd be so pleased with myself for having done it. It's not enjoyable for me at all. That's what's interesting as well, because I don't want 1 or 2 drinks. I want like 10 drinks.
Yeah,
that's the amount of pissed I want to be. I've got no interest in something tasting nice with my dinner. It's
no. Well, the fun bit is getting drunk, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's brilliant.
That's the bit I liked.
Yeah, but the after bit.
Oh, the after bit's hell.
It's no good.
It's no good. Yeah.
But so I sent myself to a really like the cheapest rehab in the UK, a detox place in Plymouth. It's not there anymore. It's so sad. It's not there anymore.
That's a shame, isn't it? A lot of those kind of free detox places or super cheap, a lot of them are closed.
Yeah.
One I went to was called Long Yard. It was on Ross Square. Yeah. That's no longer there. And that was an amazing place.
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
I was there for a month.
Okay.
Because I paid, I think if you go through the NHS, you do like a much longer.
Right.
But I just found the cheapest one when I knew I had to sort myself out.
Okay.
I'd had incredibly loved close friend die. And from the point when they died, I could not stop. Right. So it was in the daytime as well. And so I knew I needed help. And then from there, I still came out, did meetings every day, and I would still relapse after a month, after 3 months, after 2 weeks. Like, I suppose the first step towards getting recovery is that you realise that you have a problem. I knew I had a problem for ages.
Yeah.
I fought the problem for ages. And actually, even once I did have recovery in my life and I had professional help, the addiction overwhelmed my rational thought. It's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
Drinking against your own will.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah. And I describe the craving as being like, say if you're underwater and you can't get air and then you need to breathe as soon as you come up from the water. Right. That is how, when I was in active alcoholism or active addiction, that is how desperate I would be to drink. That every single rational thought would be overruled by this urge.
Were you physically addicted as well? Because I was. So if I'd stop drinking, I'd start shaking, and I was even hallucinating and stuff as well.
Were you?
Yeah.
I think because I had children in the end, I would have to be a normal person in the daytime or worked in an office.
So it was a bit of a protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was at that point where there was the bereavement. It was from then that it was all the time.
Okay.
And then I really quickly went into treatment after that. So I was in active alcoholism as binge user.
Yeah.
But looking back, I do think like things like retching in the mornings that I didn't realise were withdrawal. But it was only right at the very end that I was like physically dependent.
Yeah.
Thank God.
It's really interesting, actually. You talk about this word craving and being underwater and gasping for breath. And then earlier on, you talked about the acceptance that if you have one, you're going to create a craving.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up is because I kind of had to go full cycle with it as well, with this thing called craving, because obviously being physically addicted, mentally addicted, emotionally, physically, maybe spiritually addicted.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely 100% agree with you. I think with a bit of time, I started to figure out, hang on a minute, if I want that craving to return, that will happen if I pick up a drink, which is really interesting, isn't it? Because it doesn't actually take the craving away.
No.
It only actually amplifies it.
Yeah.
So like, you know, every few months, I don't know if this happens to you, but the Colonel calls me. Right,
Yeah.
by Colonel, I mean KFC. I don't know what it is. I don't crave KFC at all, but about every 3 months, I have to have a bucket of KFC.
Okay.
And this is the great thing. I eat the bucket of KFC, and the last thing I want is KFC.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. If that happened with booze, that would be fine. But it doesn't. I'm not even craving it now. I'd have one, and now suddenly I want to drink the entire bar.
Yeah.
So it doesn't tick the box.
No.
Has that been part of your recovery process, just kind of fully wrapping your head around that concept?
I think it's the main thing that's helped me. It's the knowledge that however much I want a drink, which I'll be honest, I don't anymore. I'm sure there'll be periods in my life when I do, but at times when I've felt that I want to, that idea that it's only going to make that craving so much worse.
Yeah.
That's kept me dry.
I think a lot of my relapses, because I'd relapsed quite a lot in the past, were about me trying to disprove that theory.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? I'm not powerless, and I'm going to prove it by
Yeah.
drinking.
Yeah.
Do you think most of yours are about that as well?
I think there are different kinds of ones because I think you can be so emotionally overwhelmed that when that, I think, sort of neurological pathway is still there, that you're just out the door. And I think that then there's the ones where you're sort of planning them. And you're like, if I could just only have 2 drinks once a week, and then you end up going down that. So that, I think there are different types.
Agreed.
But all roads lead to the same place.
Yeah. It's interesting as well, because I think when you look at the stats around, you know, why people get, say, addicted to alcohol and other things, there can be a genetic component, there can be a sort of an environment component. Some people have got past trauma and other mental health problems. And then there's some people that literally get addicted to drugs and alcohol because they're really effing addictive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where do you think you sit with it? Do you think there's stuff from the past, or maybe stuff you were born with? Or do you think you just got addicted to booze because booze is really addictive?
There are people in my family that were long dead from alcohol abuse before I was even born.
Wow.
And I think there's a strong genetic link in there.
Yeah.
My own family, I don't want to be throwing people under the bus, really.
No, of course.
But it strongly runs in my family. Okay. And I met a woman once, actually. She was adopted I'm Irish. She was adopted from Ireland, and she went to find the family. And she said she had 6 siblings, all buried in a row, all from alcoholism, and she was in AA. It's genetically so strong. I think for me, that kind of allergy to alcohol, that's in my body somehow.
Right, got you.
I think for me, substances were so completely and utterly normalised in my life from almost small childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not even almost, from small childhood. I had no concept, and neither did my parents, that there was any way of relaxing at all that didn't involve alcohol or substances.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to anyone that there would be any sort of option of just not doing anything.
It sounds like you're getting it from both angles, the kind of environment, the lifestyle, plus some genetic factors all thrown into one.
We had a cousin that was in NA, and I remember the whole family ripping the piss out of her because she had sparkling water with Sunday lunch, and they were also about how silly it was.
Potentially, well, I'm just going to say it straight. The environment that you've grown up in, you would think it would be the opposite, maybe, that actually a member of the family is drinking sparkling water and they're making healthier choices.
Oh, no.
But actually, the opposite is true, because I'm the only one in my family with any kind of addiction stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I'm the only one that, wow.
I'm the only one that's clean.
There's a little bit of debate, you know, I could debate it, but I mean, pretty much me, I would say. And so it's been a very positive thing. Oh, you know, Ollie's on the straight and narrow. But it sounds like actually it's harder for people that maybe have that embedded more in the family.
I want to interview you now.
Anytime. You can have me on your pod.
Yeah.
How has your recovery been received then?
I think people around me are really supportive now, but there's I certainly, in people close to me that are substance positive, I think.
Yeah.
Slightly less of a good reception to like the greater world around me.
Okay.
But I do think people that are in addiction, it makes them feel a bit weird, doesn't it? That there might be an idea that they could stop as well. It's like uncomfortable for them.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I've had the poorer reception from people that are still using, rather like people that have got issues themselves, rather than normal people, or people in recovery.
That's really super interesting. Obviously, I don't want to take anyone's inventory, but I've always noticed that people have a problem with me being sober, or often people have a problem with it themselves. Now, obviously, I'm not sort of asking you to criticize anyone in particular or anything like that, but I do find it a very interesting thing, because I think if you genuinely have no problem with substances or alcohol, like, why does it matter if someone else is not using them?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It only makes sense if you've got an issue with it yourself, potentially.
Well, it's interesting because there's this whole concept, isn't there, this sober curious thing.
Right, sure.
There's a lot of people that are sober disgusted concept, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, nearly everyone in my life has been absolutely hugely positive, you know, so I can only empathise with that, because that sounds really, really difficult.
I think for alcoholics, if the problem is everything else and the solution is alcohol, the suggestion that the problem might be solved, if it's too much for their brains to comprehend.
It's like highlighting their own issues, I guess.
Yeah,
your own sobriety highlights their non-sobriety kind of thing.
Absolutely. So it's too uncomfortable for them to be around.
You said something earlier as well, which I think is quite important to say, that you had a lot of fun drinking and using substances once upon a time.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes people might listen to this podcast and think, oh, Ollie's anti-alcohol and drugs. I'm not per se. Do you know what I mean? I just am for me.
Yeah.
And for anyone else that's struggling with it. But when I look at my drinking career, it's kind of a little bit like the movie Scarface for me.
Yeah.
So, like, have you seen
What age were you when you stopped, if you don't mind me asking?
When this pod is out, it'll be 10 years. So,
wow.
So I was 35.
Okay.
Yeah, 35.
Yeah, I was about 32, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the first half of my drinking career, it's a bit like the first half of the movie Scarface. You've seen Scarface, right?
Yeah.
So if you pause the movie halfway in Scarface, that's the bit where he's marrying Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
He's got a tiger. He's smoking this Cuban cigar.
Yeah.
He's just got married. They're counting the money. Take it to the limit, and all the money. Like, it's amazing. Everyone wants to be Tony Montana.
Yeah.
If you fast forward to the end of that film, he's being shot to death by the mafia, dying in a pool of blood. That's how I see my drinking career. The first half was a lot of fun and it was great. And then the second half was just a slow downwards, well, not slow, quick spiral into hell and death. But I think it's okay to acknowledge that there were some fun times with it. You know what I mean as well? That's part of the story.
Yeah.
That's why I kept going back.
Well, yeah, certainly. Because I enjoyed it so much. I was out all the time.
Yeah.
And I certainly was very happy at the time. I mean, even off my face in blackout, I actually was happy.
Yeah.
Do you have because you say that you don't have it in your family, do you have a very busy mind?
I do have a very busy mind, and I think for me a lot of it is sort of anxiety based. You know, I was diagnosed with panic disorder in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I thought alcohol was helping me with that. You know. And I've not had a panic attack since I got sober.
Yeah.
Not a single, not one.
Yeah.
Not one panic attack since I got sober.
And I never raise my voice. I never cry. I don't very occasionally I'll cry, but hardly ever. And I used to be all over the place.
There's a couple of things I want to pick out that you spoke about. One is this idea of being powerless over your behavior, because you spoke about that earlier. So I think for me, like, being powerless simply means I'm not sure how it's going to end up, which you've highlighted really well. It's like, you know, spinning a lucky dip. How's it going to show up? You also talked about this sort of crazy high that you would get back in the day from using. Because you just asked me a question, didn't you, about overthinking brain. I know you've been diagnosed with ADHD.
I haven't actually been diagnosed with it. It's a trick question, I feel, the ADHD diagnosis.
Tell me about that.
Because there are so many forms that they've sent me.
I see.
That I can't concentrate on doing the forms. So I feel like proper ADHD people aren't getting any diagnosis because the process is so kind of anti. But almost everyone related to me, all of my children are either autistic or ADHD.
Right.
It's a clue there, isn't there? Dad's autistic, mum's ADHD. I'd say me and my brother are a bit of both.
How do you think this all ties in to your drinking? Is there a link, do you think?
I think that there is a generational link in my family between neurodiversity, addiction, and obviously me.
Right.
Yeah. Because my kids are genetically autistic and ADHD.
Okay.
So hopefully, my feeling is that to try and avoid, not that I've done an amazing job at them avoiding trauma, to be honest with you, but if I can try and avoid completely traumatizing them, that might not turn into addiction. It's interesting, actually, in the way that I parent.
Right.
I'm so aware of trauma, mental health, addiction.
Yeah.
That it really affects the way that I parent.
Could you give me an example?
I'm in so much trouble at the moment about one of my children's attendance. So much trouble because I refuse to basically beast her into school. I feel I respect that she's got too much anxiety, that it's traumatic for her.
Right.
And I'm seeking appropriate help and alternative.
Got you.
But because I've got a high level of awareness of, say, like, she's 14. So if I'm arguing with her all of the time, I'm going crazy at her, I'm saying she's naughty, I'm putting really loads of pressure on her to move through a barrier of stress that she doesn't feel she can deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's a recipe for trouble.
Right, gotcha.
So I kind of won't.
Right.
But it's difficult to explain it to professionals whose job is to punish me for not doing that.
Right, I understand.
Yeah. But I think I also look at people with near enough an assumption that they're going to get into some sort of trouble with mental health. I think because my girls are autism or ADHD, statistically, the likelihood of them having some sort of mental health problems or issues later on. But then also I've observed all of my life people with those issues, and I've seen some absolutely awful things. I've had some of the closest people to me die in horrific ways, and I've got this whole load of trauma, I suppose, that probably really does influence my parenting, but more that influences trying to be really gentle and really understanding. But I think I'm maybe gentle and understanding to a degree that I don't have enough authority.
Right. Do you think it's a good thing that people are getting diagnosed, particularly from a school perspective?
It's a funny question for me, because I think, so two of my girls are autistic to a degree that they're disabled by it.
Right.
Both of them are absolute geniuses. The older one, she's a total success story, but the older one we unschooled, and she's really doing well as an adult now.
Amazing.
Yeah. Then I think my middle one and a lot of other kids, say when I was a kid, right? So I bunked off school all the time because I couldn't handle it. I did very well in all of my exams, but I didn't go to the lessons. I was told I was naughty continuously. I was told it at home. I was told it at school.
Okay.
I think it's not healthy to do that to kids, and I think they know that it's not healthy to do that to kids.
Okay.
But then what they're doing instead is labeling kids as disabled, which again, it's not that healthy. There's obviously, you're a teacher. There's loads and loads of learning differences that are just differences.
It's interesting. I mean, I think what I find interesting about it is sort of adult friends of mine that say have been diagnosed with ADHD. They're sort of turning around to me going, "Oh, now it makes sense. You know, why I behaved in a certain way at school.
Yeah.
And I was just branded, naughty." But I think what you're saying though is the label itself, it can be damaging as well. I just wondered what the sweet spot is then, because if back in the day it was naughty and now it's it's ADHD as an example.
Yeah.
Is there a sweet spot?
So I've got loads of questions about it, but I don't know all the answers. But what I do definitely know, and I imagine you know as well, is that all inventors, mathematicians, engineers, they're all autistic spectrum.
Yeah.
All IT, not all IT people, but like all Silicon Valley people, computer game designers, they all seem to be autistic. Very, very, very important shaping of our society people, right? Then everybody in the arts seems to have ADHD. I've not met a one that, just certainly in stand-up comedy, every single one is getting diagnosed.
Right.
I'm not saying they don't have it, but then is it just diagnosing being an artist as disabled?
Well, it should just be normalised, shouldn't it? It's just being a human rather than it being this thing.
Yeah.
I suppose it's about having an understanding of certain things, but also bearing in mind that this is just normal human behaviour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you look at people who are in recovery, like I think all the world's best people are in recovery by and large. Like if you find like your favourite musician or your favourite comedian or writer or business owner, you probably find that 2/3 of the time they're in recovery.
Yeah.
And probably 3/4 of the time in recovery from something, if you then include trauma or mental health or something.
Yeah.
There's very few people actually in the world that I really respect who have had like just an easy life.
Yeah.
And just done it. I'm not saying that those people need to be embarrassed or shamed in any way.
I think through like trauma and experience, people have incredible landscapes to draw creatively from.
Yeah. What's your story taught you about yourself? Because, you know, you're someone that has survived all of these things. You know, you mentioned the psychiatric ward. What's the story you tell yourself now? Because I know me in active addiction, I'm a piece of shit. I'm useless. I can't do anything. I don't deserve anything. That story's changed now. I look at myself in the mirror. I just wondered for you, what do you tell yourself now when you think about what you've been through?
I really love myself.
Yay! Love that.
Yeah, I've got really great empathy for myself. And interesting because I've got all these daughters as well. So it's very healing. Each of them have got little similarities to me, even the ones that aren't biologically my ones. I can see little bits of myself as a young girl in each of them. And so to parent, that's extremely healing. Because I wasn't really, I didn't have a lot of forgiveness with me, apart from me being viewed to be a problem, I think.
Right.
Whereas I can see with my own girls that they're just actually lovely.
So you got compassion for yourself today?
I've got massive compassion for myself. Massive compassion for myself.
How did you access that?
I used to, do you know what? I used to every single day just think I wanted to die.
Right.
Can't think of anything worse than dying. I've got loads of stuff to be doing
Yeah,
now.
no, I don't want to die today at all.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It would terrify me.
I think for me, recovery has given me a real focus. Like every passing year, I'll be turning 46 end of this month.
Looking well.
Thank you, mate. I feel like I've got so much to do. You know, every day I got so much I want to pack in.
Yeah.
Whereas before I just wanted to just not even be present.
Yeah.
Just kind of, you know. I think for somebody that, particularly maybe a parent, you know, this happens a lot in the rehabs that I work in, with mums and dads, but I would say probably a little bit more with mum. You know, I feel really, really guilty about my active addiction impacting my children and sort of being quite stuck on I wondered how you found compassion for yourself.
I found it horrific, actually.
Right.
As a mother in addiction, horrific. So the way society looks at mothers in addiction, and the way that I felt about myself, the guilt and shame around it were ferocious.
Yeah.
I suppose it's what got me clean, though.
Wow.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So the guilt and shame at one point was maybe causing relapse, and then it became what stopped it, or have I simplified it too much?
I'm not really sure. I just think the longer and longer I stay doing the right things, being grateful, looking at my own behaviour, I built such a lovely life for myself now. The further and further I get away from it, but it's still now, do you find something will come up and you still feel shame? But overall, I'm really proud that I managed to. I think stopping drinking is one of the hardest things in the whole wide world to do.
Yeah.
And actually, for me, the hardest thing to do was that. And I did that. So I think I can probably do anything at all now.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. I love the way that you're looking at that. Going a little bit off topic, but on topic at the same time. So you mentioned weed earlier.
Yeah.
And I know weed has been something that's been part of your life for a very long time. You already shared this. There's obviously this big movement now called Cali Sober.
Yeah.
Which essentially means that the only drug that you're taking is marijuana.
Yeah.
But you're clean off everything else. Now, obviously, I'm not asking you to pass a moral judgment on that because people can do whatever they want. But is marijuana part of your recovery today? And if not, why not?
Marijuana is not a part of my recovery today.
Okay.
Because I took advice at the beginning. So for me, it was between going to AA and going to NA.
Okay.
As soon as I was in AA, I started thinking, well, I can still smoke a joint. And actually, for me to put it in sort of my understanding of it, by being in my right mind 24 hours a day, I'm processing all the time. Also, emotionally, if you think about muscles, say if you walk all the time, your leg muscles are good. And then if you are not walking, your leg muscles waste, right?
Yeah.
My coping muscles in my brain, I feel like you get really good at emotionally coping with things when you're straight in your head the whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was to return to what I always did, which is just having a joint before I went to bed, I feel like I'd be back in looking forward to the joint at the end of the day, not coping with things properly, not looking at my own behaviour, not looking at my own part in things. And I think it would be hugely detrimental to my overall recovery.
Sure.
To be... It's cheating, really. And also it probably lead me back to my drug of choice, which is alcohol.
There's going to be people screaming now at the TV or down their earpods going, how dare you call it cheating? The reason I say this is the Cali Sober movement. They're pretty ferocious that they're sober and they're clean and they're in recovery. But you've just called it cheating. Now, I'm not trying to like mug you off here, but what would you... Let's imagine I'm putting this clip on TikTok now and there's all these little comments firing. It's not cheating, I'm sober. As long as I'm off booze, it doesn't count. Why do you call it cheating? I mean, you've kind of explained it, but why is it cheating?
For me, I'd be cheating myself of the full benefits of recovery, which is an ability to cope with life on life's terms and enjoy it.
Oh, I mean, I do agree with you. Do you know what I mean? Solidarity, so they can come for both of us at the same time.
Yeah, but you must meet my little brother, whose Mr. Cannabis is a wonder drug.
Okay.
He's goes all around the world speaking about the health benefits and the joys of it.
Okay.
So if you want the other side of the argument...
I can see both sides of the coin in the sense that for someone like you and for someone like me, that's 100% correct. I guess if someone was killing themselves on lots of different substances and now they've just got it down to weed, then that's great. That's amazing harm reduction.
I tell you what, I agree with you. Cannabis is safer than alcohol by 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
It's nothing like as harmful. I do know from personal experience of people, some people are predisposed to psychotic, like schizophrenia and stuff, and it can be really, really appallingly bad.
Oh, 100%.
For them.
Yeah,
but it's not as it just simply is not as bad as alcohol.
Yeah.
But I personally choose to not have it be part of my recovery. And I've also seen people's lives be ruined.
Me too.
Just by smoking weed all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you've got any kind of like schizophrenia is one, isn't it? If it's part of your sort of genetic makeup, you can trigger it much earlier, and for some people it can even aggravate it, and some studies say even cause it in certain genetic types of people as well.
We've had a few people get really incredibly bad backs, and it's because they're lying down all the time.
Right. Yeah.
It's actually ruining their physical health.
Yeah. I remember quite early on in my recovery, I had a tooth infection. I was in agony.
Oh, wow.
And I got prescribed some pretty strong, I guess it was some kind of tablet, might have had an opioid in it or whatever. And I turned around to my recovery mentor and he said, look, if you're in agony and you take it as prescribed, he said, it's okay.
Yeah.
But just be careful. And I only took one tablet and I felt a little bit, not stoned or a bit out of it. Yeah. And I made myself sick.
Really?
I hated the feeling.
Oh, good for you.
Because it took me back to that numbed out of it feeling.
Yeah.
And for me, recovery is about being absolutely 100% present, living life in HD, all the things you've taught. Like, how can I be emotionally sober, which to me is as important as being physically sober, if I'm not completely clean off everything? That's just how I see it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember in treatment thinking, every time I go to a party, I'll just pop a Valium.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That would soon get away from you, wouldn't it?
Then I started seeing people in benzo withdrawal.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you ever detoxed off Valium? It's, honest to God, it's the worst thing in the whole world.
Isn't it crazy the thing that people think helps anxiety, things like benzos and alcohol, have some of them...
Benzos are the most addictive substances in the 100%. Whole planet.
Agreed.
But I tell you what.
It's the only drug that will kill you in withdrawal alongside with alcohol.
Yeah.
Is benzos and booze.
Yeah.
And they're prescribed for anxiety.
I had
You believe it?
I did my back. I did my back not long ago, and I got prescribed diazepam, tiny dose. And I wasn't thinking properly. I was in bed and I spoke to my friend, and she's in recovery as well.
Yeah.
And I said, I've completely put my back out. And I said, no, I've got, because they're muscle relaxants. That's what they are.
That's true.
That's what the purpose of them is a muscle relaxant. It just also relaxes your brain, right? So say like if you're in spasm, they're actually the right thing. And I was like, I'm so exhausted. I'm working all the time, really overwhelmed. And I've done my back. And I've had to get these things off the doctor. And I was like, do you know, it's weird though, because I couldn't move. I'm in such a good mood. And she said, that's because you've done benzos, Mole. And I was like, oh yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I've seen people in benzo withdrawal in rehabs, and it's brutal.
It's horrific. It's so bad. I can't even.
And doctors give them out like sweets.
Basically, you go into psychosis in a benzo withdrawal. You go to the literal opposite level that it puts you at.
That's exactly
for
right.
ages, and you can die from a benzo withdrawal. It's alcohol and benzo is the most dangerous ones.
And someone that has a history with panic disorder, you know, these are the things that they're prescribed for and things like that. And if you really want panic, try getting off these drugs. This episode is sponsored by Gavin Sisters, the passionate teetotal founders of the Detox Balm Retreat and the creators of Funky Coffee. If you love the taste of coffee but want to ditch the crash, Funky Coffee is your new go-to. Made from triple certified organic Arabica coffee and infused with powerful mushrooms, it gives you all the energy and none of the jitters. Plus, it's amazing for your gut, skin, and athletic performance. And if you're looking to recharge your body and mind, you've got to check out the Detox Barn. This award-winning retreat located in both the UK and the Algarve is a plant-based, alcohol-free sanctuary where you'll learn how to be healthier, happier, and more balanced. Whether it's for a weekend away or a full restorative retreat, just visit gavinsisters.co.uk and use the code School of Rock Bottom for 10% off your next retreat or a bag of their amazing Funky Coffee. That's School of Rock Bottom for a 10% discount for a healthier, happier you. Go check them out. I'm aware of time. We're getting a bit short on time. We've not talked about your amazing comedy career that is on the rise. And what I love about this is you're describing being in a psychiatric ward, about living in a lot of fear and shame and guilt. And now you're literally getting on stage doing, I think, the scariest thing you can do as a performer, which is stand-up comedy. I don't think there's anything more scary than that. That just shows what an amazing place your recovery is, that you're able to stand on stage and do that.
Do you think so?
I personally think it's the scariest thing I've ever done.
Oh, do you think I'm just not such an addict that I just anything for a buzz?
Could be.
Yeah. So I just do it 5 times a week, night times. It's a bit similar to using, isn't it? And then,
well, I suppose you're getting noradrenaline. You're feeling a bit scared. You're getting the dopamine hit.
I get so scared.
Right. Do you like that mixed feeling of feeling high and scared at the same time?
I don't know. I don't know. I keep doing it. Must do. But beforehand, I always go, I'm going to quit. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's too much.
Yeah.
But then I buzz off it for about 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I do actually think the reason that I've got so good, because I've only been going for a year and a half and I've won Best Newcomer 3 times, which is unbelievable.
And haven't you
3 different ones,
you've
but
just
in a row.
Been on, well, I don't want to call it a supporting act.
Yeah.
But you've been working with who?
Omid Jalili.
Woo!
Yeah.
With the high rollers.
Yeah.
Check it out. That's amazing.
But I think possibly this addiction in me, I've done it so regularly. I've been so dedicated to it that I've got really incredibly good really in a relatively short space of time, because I've become so successful with it just in 18 months. But early days, I'm just like, oh, that was great. I want to do that again. Do it the next day. Oh, that was great. I'll do that again. And that's a bit similar to other things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe it's helped me.
So society might look at ADHD as something that would hold you back, or maybe addiction that's something that would hold you back. But actually, I'm looking at it and going, those things have actually massively helped you. Because am I right in thinking with ADHD, you can hyper focus as well? Sounds like that and your addictive nature is almost, I know it's cheesy, It's like a superpower.
Weird, isn't it? Because I can either not focus at all or hyper focus.
Yeah.
Part of this career was I tried to choose something that I thought I wouldn't get bored of.
Right.
So most of my history is like sales, marketing, stuff like that, which is very good at. But I like with comedy that it keeps changing. Yeah. So I'm performing stand-up all the time at the moment. Brilliant. But now I'm writing a sitcom. I get to go on podcasts. I get to meet really cool people.
Oh, writing a sitcom. Okay, yeah, right, yes. You know, if you need anyone with dark hair and a side parting, I'm your guy.
I'll write you in.
You're going to write me in, see? You heard it here first.
Postman with really great hair. Postman with fantastic
that sounds about right.
hair.
Two lines, rock up. Here you are, darling. Walk off. There you go. Brilliant. That's all right. I'll take it.
We'll get you in there.
I'll take it. Yeah. But also, you've signed up with a nice agent as well, I think, haven't you? And all of that.
Intertalent, they're amazing.
Check it out. It's amazing. It's fantastic.
It's mental, isn't it?
Also, you know, I think we should say as well, we'll put this in the show notes as well, that you've done a lot of work with people in the recovery space as well, haven't you? Just quickly, literally, you've got a couple of minutes. Tell us about your previous job, which was amazing, and the one that you're still with Synergy Theatre Company as well.
I love working with charities. Before I worked with guys called Shared Enterprise, and they work with people that have been through difficulties. They could be any sort of difficulties, really, and haven't we all? Yeah. But so trauma, addiction, stuff like that. People who have been through difficulties to start their own businesses, which I absolutely loved. It related a lot to my other work. So I would do a lot of work with them about their marketing, branding, and setting up. And loved it. I used to go into prisons with them. Then since I've been doing comedy, I've been working with guys called Synergy Theatre Project, who are unreal. You'll need to meet them, actually.
We'll definitely link up about that, and we'll put a link in the show notes. It'd be good to give them a shout out, I think.
So they work with, including myself, people who have experience of the criminal justice system. So it's a lot of ex-prisoners or people that have had, you know, cases. And I've both been a client and worked for them, which is great. Loads of us do. The success that those guys get, so they put on plays, put on tons of courses, they make films, they continuously get really good jobs for all of the clients, but they've got, so with ex-prisoners, they've got a 97% non-offending rate. If you can imagine.
Incredible.
It's unheard of.
That's crazy. That's nearly 100%.
They're all coming out of prison. Next thing, they're on Netflix. They're all over the telly, these guys.
Unbelievable. Well, maybe some of them we can get on the pod.
100%.
Be amazing for that. Molly, thank you so much for coming on today. I really, really appreciate it. Unfortunately, we are out of time. But huge thanks for coming to see me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Oliver. It's been wonderful.
It's been amazing to see you. Guys, head to the show notes now. There's going to be loads on Molly there, and also all the amazing things she does. Go there now. If you're watching this on Spotify or Apple, or listening to this or on YouTube, hit subscribe, follow, give us 5 stars, all of that good stuff. And guys, I will see you in 2 weeks' time. I have not let you down yet with a brand new episode. Until then, thanks for watching or listening.